Hi everyone, Alex is here. Wondering what is Elasticsearch? Let's find that together. Elasticsearch. So that's powerful, it's distributed, it's NoSQL, analytic system. So basically, why should you use that? You're using that when you have a big capacity of your information, of your data, and you want to filter that to search any information there. So that's why you should have it. So, how does it work? Do you know the book? And in the end of that book, you can discover letters and in which pages does these letters are. So where you can find them. So that's how it looks like for our Elasticsearch. Basically, it just takes your full text, makes that a list of the words where they can be found, and it discovers that in such way. So it shouldn't read all of your text to discover some part of that. No, you're just taking the database, you're just indexing that all along, and then it makes a map inside of that. So you can finally discover where this thing is discovered in which page. So that's how it works. And while it creates its own indexing system, regular databases, they should read all of your text to discover if this text suits for your query. And that's the problem why you're using Elasticsearch. And that's more NoSQL variant, because you can also use indexing in your databases, and I have video about that, you can check it out. But basically, there is now so many variants how you can index them. You can index that in PostgreSQL, but Elasticsearch is the most popular thing here. Also, it's easier to make scalability of that, because you are just adding additional nodes for that, and it works based on nodes and how many nodes you want to add. So many times it will distribute that and it will parallel that, and you'll be able to search that. So that's so much easier to scale. Just believe me. And also, when you're taking, for example, analytics, and you wanted to aggregate something, so for example, how many products each brand was sold the last week, or what is the average price for a specific product. All of such things, dashboards, analytics, systems, Elasticsearch can help you to just analyze all of that information. So they can basically take the information that you need, and then you can use Python or any others library to discover best suitable analytics for you. That's how it works, and that's why you should use that. So if you're using, for example, electronic commercial system, e-commerce, or monitoring clock systems, or anything where is big deal is finding a piece in a sentence. So when you should have your sentence, like you're dividing that to specific parts of words, and you wanted to find them. So Elasticsearch will help you to find that. So when you have big text, you want to find something, Elasticsearch, it is the way how you can do that. And if we discover why we should use that, how we can implement it in our system. Let's discover this question. You can see here 3 folders. So CLI, ES React, and Server API. So basically, as we're doing here, usually I have some preset CLI commands for you, so it will be easier for you to understand how this works. So we have Docker. That's the first one that we'll take, and we'll try to understand how it works and why we should use it, because this one is what we should rely on when we're testing. So that's quite important one. So we're taking Docker, our favorite one, taking the port 9200, and we're also telling that this is single node, because if it is will be multiple nodes, it will be a little bit harder to configure that, but it can be, it's not so hard as you can think, but it will be harder for such easy demos. So that's why we're telling that this is single node. Also, we're enabled, like we're disabled our security, because here is have a problem. So when you're working with Elastics, you should always use your username and password to make connection secure and to work with that correctly. And that's why, so we'll have a lot of problems because of that. So if we won't disable that, we should use our standard password, that is, as I remember, Elastic and change me. And sometimes it could be complicated because it's a local host, and because of this local host, we have problem that server not sometimes can understand us, and he think that it's illegal request. So basically, it's good to disable that when you're testing that on your local machine. But it's always should be enabled in your production mode, this line. The next one, JavaOps, it means this is the last, this is the max one. So it is how many memory can use our system. So this Elasticsearch, because if we'll have more of that, that is basically taken by Elasticsearch by default, it is trying to take as much memory as it could be. Sometimes we could have error because it would like to take more than it could, and that's the problem. So to put 512, that's ideal. It will be megabytes. It will be okay here. So it will be good for testing, and especially when you don't have a huge database. So when you have a testing database, it's not so huge one for some million gigabytes. No, it could just be for some megabytes. Sometimes a little bit more for 2 or 3 gigabytes, but that's not the thing that will be working today, for example. And the last thing, we're taking 8.9 version from Elasticsearch officials. So that's how we can use that. And we can just copy this one. We can open terminal here, and we can run that. So that's it. That is in our Docker, and it is started. The next one, we can initialize our front-end development. So you can just use npx create react, ES React template, PVA template, ES React, and install these libraries. So we'll be able to use this one and this one. So you'll be seeing why. And you're just taking this one, putting it here, and running that out, because I already have that. It is here. That's how it will look like. I won't run it right now, but you should if you're starting to development that. And let's go further. So we have also start Docker. When we initialize that, our container, we should start it, so we'll be able to work with that. We're just using Docker starts ES demo, and if we'll go here, we'll be able to see that it is started. Like 52 seconds ago it was. Everything's okay here. Nice, we can go further. Okay, let's go. Then we have our backend, and let's take a small look of that, how it should be, how it should work. So basically, you know what, I can also delete these two, so you'll be able to see how it should work. So you should have two files. Firstly, package.json. Package.json, you just need to start your node server.js, and also you should have three things. Is Elasticsearch, the same version that you have when you're installing it to the Docker. You should have Course and Express. And let's discover why we should have that. So that's our initial look what we have here. Let's take a look a little bit closer. So Express, our client that we're taking from Elastics, and Course. Express is creating our server. client is being taken to our Node.js, so we can connect to our like the second server, so we can transfer data and we can search with that. And of course, so we won't have any problems to connect from our Node.js server that you see right now and our Elastic servers, because this one, it is like separate server and they should know how to connect with each other. And if we will have course, so we'll have in problems. So we should just define that this thing should be able to connect us, but when we're just importing that, it's much easier us to handle. So we're just creating our client, and it is based on one node that is in localhost 9200, and that's what we have. We can write here additional things. For example, we can write here, so remember username, and yeah, username and password, you can check it here, but we won't write it because we just disabled that. So you know what? I think we should write it in our authorization object, these things. Yeah, so you can be able to check that with your documentation of Elastic. And in general, here you will be writing these things. And that's all what we should do right now with our Elasticsearch. So let's go to our Express. So we're creating our sellers. We're taking the settings for course, and we'll be able to accept JSON to our input. And we have function Bootstrap. What it will help us with. So first, we're taking products. It will be our initial database that will check if it exists, we want anything. But if it doesn't, so we'll add some things here. So for example, we see here, existing, we are waiting for our Elasticsearch to index if it has any products. So if it doesn't, we'll just write in that our Elasticsearch indicize create, and we're taking index, so it will be calls product. We have body for that, so it will be mapping that will have inside properties, and which properties will be able to match. So it will be name, it will be that, it will be price, and it will be text. So here we can check the type of that. So it will be text, it will be double, it means the price, so it will be any number, and keyword, it will be some specific one words. So when we have text, it will be like sentences, and we can have a couple of texts there, like keywords. And here it will be like it will be a list of your keywords, like one word at a time. That's text. Then what we have bulk, so we'll insert these things inside. So we just create our index and we have helper, and we'll insert the data there. So data source, what we're putting, name, Apple desk, also a sentence is here. Then we have double, so it should be right. It should be your number of price. So then we have tags, then we have, yeah, and then we have all of the same things. So after we have written that, we're taking on document, and we have taken doc, so it is our parameter that we're taking. Then we can return our index and refresh on completion. So when we'll be taking all this information, we'll refresh our connection, our request, and we'll be able to work with our freshly connected, created information. So all of that, it is how it will work, and it is. So we are taking here bootcamp, we're catching if we'll have any errors, so we'll console log them. And this is initial thing that we'll be able to do only right now for us to create any test database. So when you are a database manager, you should take such easy to go information, so you can check how is it optimized to work with this information, if it works. So it is just test database. Then you will be able to make more serious ones. So this is just for testing. Let's go further. So we have our get search, and that is the most important thing that we should work with on. So when we'll be taking a get message, so first one more time, it is server, so we're using, for example, Express here. We're taking get method for our search, and we're taking query queue. It can be empty, of course, it can be not empty, and we can make a body for our request. So body, it will be query. It can have multiple queries. So it means that we'll be able to have multiple match in different fields. And here we'll take in our query that will be parsing here, and we have fields. What does it mean? We have name and dex, so we'll be only searching with name and dex, so any price or text names we're not taking. And what does it mean? It's not so important sometimes, this listing. It is just what is more important to show, but what does this thing mean? It means that it's in 2 times more valuable in resources than description. So it will firstly show us the matches in titles, and it show us 2 times faster because it's more important for us. And it will be the like the basic that you will be using in this thing. And the next thing that is quite interesting, that simple phrase, like you have suggestions, so you were using our text in the query. We have simple phrase, and phrase will be in our description. So it can use size 1, that means that we can write 1 word at a time for our description, and it should like we take size 1 word, and we should write at least 3 words to have a suggestion for our request. So, for example, when you're writing 3 words, we can return suggestion. Maybe you wanted to write this one word or this sentence. So this is suggestion that you can see sometimes in your search bar. This is how it works. It means that we should write at least 3 of them, because if we will write less than them, we can have a lot of different requests. So it will be hard to handle. That's why we should use the less minimum how many characters and words a user can write. That's how it should work. And then we're making our request. So here is quite easy for this. So we are using hints and suggestions. So we are taking our search, we're taking our index products, and the body that we are sending, this one body. And for our return, we have his and we have suggestions. 2 things. First, it is our recommendations, what we have found, his, and suggestions. Which request you would like to write? Maybe you would like to write this request or this request, because, for example, we can have iPhone 16 and we can have iPhone 16e, iPhone 16 Pro, iPhone 16 Plus, if I'm not mistaken. So all of the things, it will be suggestions. But for example, you're writing iPhone 6, Apple iPhone 16, and then it recommends E Pro or anything else, because it already have 3 words at least. And we're starting our server. So that's how our backend is working. Let's go to our frontend. Frontend is much, I think, will be easier for you in such a way. But first, what we should do, we should check index.js. It can import web vitals, some other stuff that you don't need. So here you can use just your create root and import your application from here. It is basic, stable 1, nothing hard here. And also you can change if you want your app CSS design, so you'll have different design to work with that. And before we'll check our app.js, so let's start our backend. So we're taking this, we're creating new terminal, running this, and let's close this one, and let's check what we'll have here. Everything's good. Server is still running. Search AP listening. Great, nice. Let's go further. Let's check with our front end what we have here. So nothing too hard here, I think, will be for you. but you'll be able to see what I was telling to you about. So here we have a couple of use states for our reaction, and here we can make a debounce. So what is debounce? When you're writing and making key press and search, so each press will make a request. You know that sometimes you can write a long question. For example, Apple iPhone 16, and with each of your click, it can go additional request, but it won't have any sense because you're typing some fast, so you're trying to discover exact meaning. Like it will take you a couple of milliseconds to write all of that sentence. And if you will make, for example, 10 requests at the time or even more, it will make a huge impact for your performance while you're on web page. And also the server, because it will handle so many requests that are unused. And that's a big problem. So not to work with that, we have debounce. So how it works? You have written something, you have pressed the key, and you're taking your hand up, and then it is waits until you will click that one more time. How it will work? You're just making something like timeout. So how it works? You're clicking, timeout is running, and if you didn't click this one more time, request will go. So that's, you can see it here. We're taking debounce for our low-dash debounce because it is ready to go library, so you can use it right now. You're taking that asynchronous function, you're taking the data from our request, so you're putting parameters like here with Q that we are using. And we have suggestions and we have results, so that's what we'll return from our request. Pretty simple. And also error. But this 300 and debounce means that this request will go only in 300 milliseconds if the another one won't go. So if we will write, for example, hello, you have seen how fast I have written that. And the request will go on after the last letter when I just take my hands up and I haven't taken anything for 3 milliseconds. Requests have gone, and that makes good performance for our server and for our experience in the web page. We don't need to lags and all that stuff. User effects. So whenever it will take the information, so if the query stream, so it is empty, we're we have something there, we're retrieving that, we're making the search. Elsewhere, we're just sending an empty, we're just cleaning our results and our suggestions. Pretty easy. And here we have our div with h1 input with some style. So the value that we're taking from our request, you can see here, and that which function will run while we'll be changing our letters. And the suggestions, that's what I was talking to you about. Did you mean something? That's how it works. And then we have list of elements with price, dex, and etc. That's also nothing hard here, just some optimization with the bounds, some logic how we can use when we have something on the query and when we don't have anything, because we should clear that when we don't have anything. And let's just start our front end to check if it will work. So we're starting that out. Sorry, I have a little bit of problems while recording that. Let's start one more time. And yeah, we have yes, React already. Here we go. And we can write, for example, phone. And after 3 milliseconds, you see Galaxy. We can write Apple. And you can see iPhone. We can try to write something like Apple iPhone 14. I don't know if it will send us something. Or let's go. I don't remember if I have taken any example for such suggestions, but we can. I don't think so. Do we have anything that will work in such a way? Noise cancellation here. Yeah, fonts. Yeah, sadly, because we have all of the descriptions are with 3 letters, so we don't have so many examples, but you'll be able to check it by yourself. And That's how it works. Thanks a lot, everyone, to be here. I really appreciate that. And hoping to see you soon in the next videos. Wishing you all the best. Bye.